There's this thing that happens. You get good at your job. You show up on time. You hit deadlines. You solve problems before anyone notices they exist. Your manager starts trusting you. Your coworkers start depending on you. And you think this is progress. It isn't.
What you've actually done is built a trap. And the worst part about this trap is that you built it yourself, one good performance at a time. This trap doesn't cost you money, it costs you something worse. It costs you years. Years you can't get back. To be clear, being good at your job matters. Don't misread this. The mistake isn't competence. The mistake is thinking competence is the whole strategy. This isn't true in every job, but it's true in most organizations. And if you've ever felt stuck despite doing everything right, this is probably why. Here's how it works. When you're good at your job, you become valuable in a very specific way. You become the person who gets things done, the person who doesn't need to be managed, the person who makes everyone else's life easier. And that sounds like a good thing. But here's what it actually means. It means you become expensive to move. They'll pay to keep you. They won't absorb the pain to replace you.
Because if your manager promotes you, they have to find someone to fill your spot. And replacing someone who's quietly competent is genuinely hard. It creates risk. It creates gaps. It creates more work for them during the transition. Managers don't avoid promoting good people because they're cruel. They avoid it because the replacement process is painful, uncertain, and if the new person doesn't work out, it reflects badly on them. So keeping you where you are is the safer choice. For them. From your side, this feels deeply confusing. You're doing exactly what they asked. You're delivering results, you're making their lives easier, and somehow that's the problem. What happens instead is this. They keep you where you are, they give you more responsibility, they give you harder problems, they tell you you're doing a great job, but they don't promote you. They don't move you up. They just make your current job bigger. You become the person who owns the monthly report. You become the person everyone calls when the system breaks. You fix it. Then they ask you to train the new hire, and now you're also the trainer. Suddenly, your job is two jobs, and none of it comes with a new title or a promotion conversation. Or you become the person who handles the difficult client, the one no one else wants to deal with. They give you the messy accounts because you don't complain. And now you're the expert on messy accounts, which means more messy accounts, which means your entire reputation is built around a thing no one else wanted. Here's the part nobody warns you about. When you're really good at your job, you stop learning. Not because you're lazy, but because you've optimized. You know the systems. You know the shortcuts. You know how to get things done without thinking too hard. And that efficiency feels like mastery. But it's not mastery. It's repetition. You get rewarded for speed, not for range. And repetition doesn't grow your skill set. It just makes you faster at the same things. Which means a year from now, you'll be better at the job you already have, but you won't be ready for the job above you. The skills that make you good at your current job are execution skills, delivery, reliability, process mastery. The skills required one level up are completely different. Strategy, delegation, managing ambiguity, influencing people you don't manage.
And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. Companies don't train you for that. They assume you'll figure it out once you're promoted, but they won't promote you until you've already demonstrated it. It's a catch-22 almost no one talks about. This shows up in performance reviews. You get marked as exceeds expectations. You get praised for reliability, but the feedback never mentions readiness for the next role, because no one's actually evaluating you for that. And when a spot opens up, they don't pick you. Not ready on paper, not ready in the story the organization tells about you. Because they're picking for the next role's requirements, not the current role's performance. And because you spent all your time being excellent at the wrong thing. This is the quiet part, the part people don't talk about at the company all-hands or in your one-on-one. Being excellent at your current role can actually block your growth, because it keeps you in your current role. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave, because now you're the person who knows everything.
You're the institutional memory. You're the one everyone goes to when something breaks. And that feels important. It feels like job security. But it's not security. It's inertia. And inertia has a cost that shows up slowly. You don't feel it in year 1. You barely feel it in year 2. But by year 3 or 4, you look up and realize you've been doing roughly the same work with a slightly bigger scope and a slightly bigger salary, and the gap between you and where you want to be has gotten wider, not smaller. Here's what makes it worse. When you're too good at your job, people start to see you as that job. They can't imagine you doing anything else. Organizations label people quickly, not formally, not in writing, but in the way people talk about you in meetings you're not in. You become the Excel person, the operations person, the person who handles escalations. And once that label sticks, it becomes the only thing people remember about you. Being the go-to person feels like recognition, and at first it is, but go-to eventually becomes can't do anything else. The longer you stay in the role, the more evidence there is for the label. And organizations treat tenure as confirmation. You're not a person with potential. You're the person who handles that specific thing. And once people see you that way, it's very hard to change their minds from the inside. This is why people leave companies to grow. Not always because the company is bad, but because the company has already decided who you are. And sometimes the only way to become someone new is to go somewhere where no one knows you yet. A blank slate isn't just a fresh start, it's leverage. Now, here's the part that feels the most unfair. You did everything right. You worked hard. You were dependable. You didn't cause drama. You didn't complain. And somehow that's the problem. So why does it feel like you're doing everything right and still not moving? Because you were easy to manage. You didn't create urgency. You didn't make anyone worry that you might leave. And I'm not saying you should manufacture chaos or become difficult to work with, but being low maintenance makes you easy to overlook. There's also a visibility problem most people don't realize they have. Your manager sees your work, but your manager's manager does not. And the person 2 levels up definitely does not. And those are the people who make decisions about your career. Promotion decisions don't happen in performance reviews. They happen in succession planning meetings, in skip-level conversations, in hallway discussions about who's ready.
And in those rooms, the people making decisions are working from narrative, not data. They're not looking at your task completion rate. They're asking, who comes to mind when I think about the next role? Performance data tells you you're good. Narrative tells you you're ready. And if no one's telling your story, you don't have a narrative. The other thing that happens is this. Silence gets misread as satisfaction. If you're not talking about what you want, leadership assumes you're happy where you are. And if they think you're happy, there's no reason to move you. So if your head's down, doing great work, being the reliable one, you're playing a game no one told you has completely different rules at the top. The people who do get promoted are often not the best at the job. They're the ones who made themselves visible. They're the ones who talked about their work. They're the ones who built relationships outside their own team. They didn't just do good work. They made sure people knew they were doing good work. And that's not about bragging. It's about context. It's about giving the right people the right information at the right time. The people who move up also do something most people avoid. They ask for things. They talk about what they want. They make it clear, directly and professionally, that they're not going to stay in the same spot forever. Not drama, not threats, just clarity that they're growing, with or without this role. And that changes how leadership thinks about them. It makes them a priority, because now there's a clock. Now there's a real risk of losing them. And that sounds cynical, but it's just how organizations work. People respond to what's in front of them. And if you're quietly excellent in the background, you are not in front of them. So here's what actually works. Being good at your job is necessary, but it's not sufficient. The people who move forward are also good at talking about their job. They're good at making their goals known. They're good at building visibility across levels. And they're willing to become temporarily less polished at their current job so they can start learning the skills of the next one. Not by slacking, by reallocating, by deliberately doing less of what you've already mastered so you can do more of what makes you ready for the next level. Because staying excellent at something that doesn't grow you is just a slower way to get stuck. This is the thing that takes time to really learn. Competence is not a strategy, it's a baseline. The strategy is what you do after you're competent. Competence gets you in the room, it gets you respect, it gets you stability, but it doesn't get you movement. And most people never think about that part. They just keep getting better at what they're already doing and wonder why nothing changes. The trap isn't that you're bad at your job. The trap is that you're too good at a job that doesn't lead anywhere. You optimize for the wrong thing. You optimize for being excellent at the job you have instead of being ready for the job you want. And by the time you realize it, you've spent years, sometimes the best years of your career, becoming incredible at something that doesn't move you forward. Years you can't recover. Not because you failed, but because you succeeded at the wrong level. The comfort of being good at something is real. The recognition feels good. The stability feels safe. The consistency feels like control. But comfort and progress are not the same thing. And most people choose comfort without ever realizing they're making a choice. They think they're building a career. What they're actually building is a very comfortable, very stable place to stay completely still. That's the trap. And the first step out of it is simply knowing it exists.